So today is our makeup session for the TM111 lab session. Okay, the lab last week we did not have the lab, so we are just doing a makeup of it. Today, inshallah, we're going to discuss about list, about using lists, and looping. Okay, so or what you say loop or repeat a statement. Right. So we're going to talk about inshallah today using the list and the loop by looking into some programs. Okay. As you remember, we had before discussed about the list and the looping. In the last meeting, we talked about the looping or the repetition of the statement. We have different forms of loop in AOU build. As you see, we have loop forever. You can see in the control, we have repeat number of times. Okay, and we have loop forever, repeat forever, and we also have repeat until some condition is true. Okay, and we saw how to use these and where to use these. And basically, these are used when we have a set of data. Set of data can be get through the list. For example, I create this temp list. So a temp is a list here now with where we can add a set of data, a number of values. Okay. So a temp list can hold a set of values, like say for example 20.5, 30.0, 34, 45, 23, 10. Now you can see that these are the set of values in the list. Okay. Now every set has a position. I mean every number in the list has a position. For example, this is in the first position in the list. This is in the second position, third, fourth, fifth, six positions. Okay, and we can get the position of. I mean we can get these values by their position. For example, if I say temp of 1, so what this will give me, temp of 1, temp of the position. So what can be the value for temp of 1? It is 20.5. 20.5. Okay. Similarly, we can say that like, okay, temp of 2, it is 30.0. Temp of 3, it is 34, and so on. Okay. So these are called the lists. Fine. To process the list, to go through the list, we are going to use the looping or the repeat statements. We will use the looping or the repeat statements. These repeat statements and loop statements are important while we process a set of values. That is the lists. That is the list. So whenever we have a list and we want to process the list, we are going to use the loop. Processing the list is nothing but doing some operations with the list elements. Either, for example, adding all the list elements, sum of the list of elements, or you can say the minimum of the list, minimum value in the list, maximum value in the list, or you can say the average of the list, the average of the list. This is what the processing of the list. Okay. So this processing can be done by using the repeat statements. By using the repeat statements. Now let us design a problem here. Let's say that we have a list of temperature. We have a list of temperature called temp. Fine. Where we have some temperature of a week, 1 week temperature. Like for example, the first day 20.4, the second day was 23, the third day was 18, then the fourth day was like 12 degree, then we had back to 28 degree. Okay, then we have then back to let's say 5 degree, 5.5 degree, and then let's say we have back to 18 degree. Now this a set of values, okay, a set of temperatures. So let's say that given is the list of temperature, okay. uh, Now you are asked to find the minimum of temperature, comma, maximum of temperature, comma, average of temperature. So you see the problem here is that first you need to take the list of temperature as a list. Then you need to find the what is the minimum of temperature. So what is the minimum of temperature here from the list? Minimum is 5.5. So we have 5.5. What is the maximum of temperature? 28 as the maximum of temperature. Plus we can find the average also. So how we can find the average is nothing but the sum of the list divided by the length of the list divided by the length or the number of elements in the list. So we can also find the average. So now we have these temperatures, we have the let's say that we have these temperatures added to the list. Fine. So if you want to design a problem or design this problem, first what we have to do is we need to create a list. Okay. Input the temperatures. So let's say that we have this temp list as a temperature list. Fine. And we write a program here. Just when click this one, uh, we go to the list. Let's say, for example, delete all of the list, that is emptying the list. Okay, then we say we ask the user, or let's say that we say enter temperature values. Okay, let's say 7 week temperature values or whatever the message you want to give. Okay, then we repeat, let's say for example for 7 times we repeat because we need to take the 7 values. Okay, and we ask the user now here uh, to ask the user enter temperature 7 times. Then let's take we take a variable, or we can directly add to the list, add the answer to the list. Okay, add the answer to the list. Fine. So will this work? So let's say that enter there 7 times. Let's say for example we enter 28, and then we enter 32, then we enter 18, then we enter 12, then we enter 5.5, then we enter let's say back 19, then we enter let's say 3. Okay, so we got the list. Fine. So it will ask you to enter the temperature 7 times. We are prepared with the 7 temperature values. Okay. You can also do with the sentinel value, like what we did in our, I think, in our last meeting when we were talking about the repeat statements. The sentinel value, the value to stop the loop. Okay. So either you enter the value or you enter Q to stop the loop. Okay, so that's the sentinel value. I can use that one. Either way, you can design it easily. to enter the values. Now the next question is, once we enter the list, the next job here is, let's say that we want to find the minimum of the list. Fine, we want to find the minimum of the list. So we will take first a variable called minimum, okay, to find the minimum of the list. Fine. So we'll take an event here whenever the, let's say, M is pressed to find the minimum, okay, or let's say whenever N is pressed to find the minimum, we set minimum as the first item. Let's say we set that first item as the minimum value. Okay, so we can set that item 1 of the temperature as the minimum value. So it is something like this, like you are setting the first as minimum value. Minimum is the temperature of 1. Okay, temperature of 1 is the minimum. The next is you need to compare this minimum value with the next element, whether the next is minimum or not. How you can compare is that if the minimum, or you can say that if the next of temperature of 2 is less than minimum, then we say that minimum is temperature of 2. Okay, so it is something like this. If temperature of 3 is less than minimum, then minimum is temperature of 3. Temperature of 3. Okay, so we need to set a loop something like this. Fine. So we need to take this here as a variable. Let's say that as a position variable, POS as position variable, and we set the position to the second. Set position to 2 because we want to start from the second item. We don't want to start from the first item because first item we already took as a minimum. Okay, we want to start from the second item because we know the position 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, 5, 6 and 7. Okay, so we want to start from the second position. So hence what we'll do, we set the position as 2. Okay, and we need to repeat to all the elements, that is 7 minus 1 elements, because there are 7 elements. First we already took remaining 6 elements, so that is 7 minus 1 times we need to repeat. So what we can use is repeat number of times, that is repeat a number of times. What is the number of times? It is the length of the list, okay, minus 1. So we have the minus operator here, minus 1 with the length of the list minus 1. Sorry. Number of times we need to repeat it. Okay. Now once we repeat it, now we need to check whether the next element, okay, is less than minimum or not. So we are going to use if statement here. If statement. Okay. So if the item position, so we need to go to the list, item of position, item position of the temperature, that is the second item of the temperature, is less than, so we are going to use less than operator. It is less than what? Less than minimum. Is less than minimum. Okay. If this is true, then we set the minimum as item of position. Fine. So we copy this and we set the minimum. Set minimum as item of position. Okay. If not, we don't change it. Okay, we just move the position value by 1. So we're going to use change position. We have the position, change position by 1. Okay, now this way we can find the minimum value in the minimum variable. So finally we can say that where is the minimum value. Fine. So it is uses a join here. join the minimum. Alaikum salam. No problem. Just 1 minute, please. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. We had our director here. Fine. So we say here the minimum of temperature is minimum of temperature is minimum. Well, the minimum variable will have that minimum of the temperature. We'll say this, like what is the minimum. Okay. So this is how we design the problem here, the program here, to find the minimum from the list. Okay. So we have the list here, as you see. Fine. Now when we press the N key, we got to find the minimum of the list. So I will press the N key here. So minimum of the temperature is 3, right? So you see that minimum of the temperature is in the list is 3. Okay, I'll repeat it again. Fine. Okay, let's change the values. Enter the temperature. Let's say it is 10.5, 2.5, then 12.5. Let's say 6.5, 18, 23, 5. Okay, so we have another new list. We want to find the minimum of list. I press N here. Minimum is 2.5. Fine. So I hope you got an idea like how we use the lists and the looping to solve the problem with a set of values. Is it clear to you all? Students online, is it clear to you all? Okay. Similarly, we can also find the maximum of temperature. We can also find the maximum of temperature. So let's create a variable called max to find the maximum of temperature. So can you just tell me that what I need to make change in this program or in this script to find the maximum instead of minimum? What I have to make the change here to convert this program is to find the maximum instead of minimum. Set the max variable to first item. Okay, we'll change it to max variable. Okay. Then, so we are setting here the max variable. Okay, we set the max variable. Okay, set position to greater than max. So instead of minimum less than, we go to use greater than here. Okay, so we are gonna use a greater than here. Okay, and we set the item of position is greater than max, not minimum. Okay, so we set it greater than max. Then set max to item of position. Okay, and finally we print the max here. Fine. So this is the only change we got to make it here. Instead of less than, we take the greater than symbol and we will change the variable from minimum to max. So now we will see that we will get the maximum of temperature. So we'll change it here, the same as maximum of temperature is, we'll have the max. So if I press the N, 23 is the max. So you can see here 23 is the max value. Fine. Is it clear? Okay, what is the block change position by one is doing? See, we got to update the position. First we check the second position, then we check the third position, then we have to check the fourth position in the list. So position change position by one is adding one to the position. Initially position is 2, right? Then position will become 3 by this change position. If we don't change the position remains 2 only. The position remains 2 and it will not give you the correct answer. It will always check the second value. It will always check the second value. So with this one, you can see if you don't change it, the maximum is 10.5. Why? Because it is always checking between first and the second value. Between first and second, it is 10.5 only. Why this is happening? Because we are not updating the position. Because we need to update the position here so that every time we go to the next value, go to check the next value. Fine. So that's why this is what the position doing here. Okay, so this is about finding the minimum and the maximum. Similarly, we can also find the sum and the average of the list. Okay, so I will leave here for you to practice this program and also find the average sum and the average of the temperature. Okay, so please do it in your laptops, in your systems. Those who are in the university can go to the lab and work it on it, and those who are at home can do it in their laptop and systems, and send me the screenshot of finding the sum and the average of the temperature. Seven temperatures, you need to input seven temperatures, find the sum and the average, and send me back the screenshot of it. Okay, fine. Any questions do you want to ask?